Okay.
Looks like it's working.
Starting right now. It's a little slow on my end, but it's started. So I'll have that going on in the background here. Oops, no, I don't want to try that for free. Okay. So glad that going back in the background, so I'll be keeping an eye on the chat for those that might join us via that, as opposed to here in the Zoom meeting. So today's, like I said earlier, today's meetup is about the elements of editing. So we're going to be talking about editing styles, editing content, what that looks like, what you use, and maybe just each sharing what we've learned about editing and what we like or dislike. So there's no real like overarching like thing for it today. So I'll just go, I thought we could just start off by just, if you guys want to share what kind of editing software you use. I can start by saying that I use iMovie. It's the one I've been using most of the time that I've been editing my videos on YouTube. I found it's easy and simplest because it's free with my computer that I own, because I have Mac computer systems, and it's really just helpful. So if you want to share what you use either in the comments section or out loud, go ahead and do that. Whoever wants to share, and just say what your name is and what your channel is real quick as you do that.
I can go.
Okay.
I'm Danielle. My channel is called Paradetta, and I make nerdy crafts. For editing software, I use Final Cut, just because that's what I learned to edit on, and it's easiest for me. And then for my phone, like if I'm editing a TikTok video, I'll use Adobe Rush. It's got all the Premiere Pro stuff kind of in it, but for your phone, and it's free. So that's even better. So cool. I use that on my phone because you don't have to do the workaround to change the aspect ratio. You can just have the actual aspect ratio. So that's what I use.
Awesome. I noticed Shelly wrote in the comment or in the chat, FCP, which is short for Final Cut Pro. That's another really great software.
Yep, that's what I use.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share?
I use Adobe Premiere. And I'm Cara. Hi, everybody. I'm the Octopus Lady on YouTube and on TikTok. I use Adobe Premiere mostly because my brother knew how to edit videos, and I was like, hey Shay, can you teach me how to edit videos? And he was like, I only know how to do it on Premiere. And I was like, I don't have that on my computer. And he was like, well, here's Pirate Bay. And I'm like, okay, thanks. And that's what I've been using for the last several years, which I don't know. I've heard that DaVinci is supposed to be really good or something like that. And it's free, but I don't know. Jill, you just got to look on your face.
I didn't know that DaVinci did video. I thought it only did pictures. So that's why I made that face. I didn't know that. So
yeah.
No, DaVinci does video.
Oh wow,
yeah, cool. They've got a very nice program. I'm John, by the way, and I use Final Cut Pro, and I'm too stubborn to change. I also, on occasion, will use iMovie, which I think is, if I had probably started using that, I don't think I ever would have gotten to Final Cut Pro. iMovie is pretty good. I mean, it really is, let's face it. But Final Cut Pro is great. But I don't seem to be able to download a good editor for my phone. So I'm going to try that Adobe. It was Adobe Rush?
Yeah.
Okay.
Recommend.
Well, the word that got me was free, so.
Yes.
That's usually the thing that gets everyone, I mean.
Right.
Yes.
The keyword.
And you can sign in, if you have an Adobe account, you can sign in and use it and transfer it between programs. But
that's cool.
But I don't know. I use Final Cut, so it doesn't work.
Eugene wrote in the chat that he mainly makes videos in 3D, and so he uses a blender to superimpose that's a big word, photogrammetry with virtual world. Until recently, he streamed in VR. Wow, streamed in VR. Cool. That's neat.
We got 2 VR Eugenes in the group.
Yeah.
Our other Eugene does VR.
I think the other Genie is at another conference that's going on for NFTs right now. If I remember, he posted something on Twitter about being there. So that's where he's at. Anyone else want to share what kind of editing software they use?
Well, I use Shotcut.
Shotcut. Wow.
Yeah,
I remember
it's
that one.
it's a free one and it's all right. I haven't really used any other one. It was like the first free one I had, so I was like, I'll just use it. And my name's Hammond, by the way.
Hi.
Hi.
And my channel is Evo Evo.
What's that?
It stands for Evolving Evolution,
Oh,
and
cool.
it basically just it's about taking things in the world and trying to make them better, just through ideas, you know.
Cool. That sounds fun.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay. Shelly said in the chat, InShot and Luma Fusion are great as well. So those are some other possible editing software. So that's an interesting thing about I think about editing software is there's just a plethora of different ones out there. And like John said, sometimes the biggest draw is free. You know, like what's the free one? But also then you have to realize what's the free one, but what's a really good free one? Because you don't want to start using something and like have the worst time at it. It doesn't give you the things you want. Like in the case, like Eugene said, he does 3D. So like, you know, something like iMovie is probably not going to work well with doing 3D. So you want to have the right kind of software to use for what you want to create. And I think that's great that there's just so many different versions. When I first started doing this, I was using iMovie, and it was this unspoken rule that a lot of people on YouTube used Adobe software. And it was just like, I felt uncomfortable when I would say I used iMovie and felt like, oh, I just use iMovie. I don't have the skills and the money for Adobe. But the thing is, it's not, as I've gotten to know more people, it's up to the person involved. And like in Kara's place, she talked about how, you know, the only person she knew that did editing was her brother, and that's what he used. So that's what she used. And that's one of the things I think that also plays into it is what you already know or what you can find and what you think is the easiest for you to use. And sometimes it may be easy and sometimes it may be hard. There's that also that education piece, that skill level, like how much time do you have in your life to devote to like learning the features of that editing software to help you do it. I've been using mine, like I said, for a few years now, and there's still some things that I don't fully know how to use, that sometimes when I'm going to edit a video together, I'll look at it and see, well, I haven't tried that thing. Let's try and see what that looks like when I use it, just so I can at least say I've used it. And whether I end up using it actually in the video or not, I don't know, but at least I try to like see, oh, hey, there's this little thing here that lets me change the color of the movie, or change something about the background or the way it cuts from one scene to the next, just so I can get a better idea of like what my software does, so I don't fall in that trap of, you know, the grass being green on the other side, thinking, oh, you know, if I just spent this money, then I can use this software, and then I have these extra bells and whistles, which I may not end up using.
Well, and I think it really depends on what kind of videos you're making, because like if you're just making like talking head videos, you don't need anything fancy, because you need something that can splice up, put everything in order, and call it good.
Especially when you have like or so's or any other idiosyncrasies that you do, or even if you have bloopers, like you're in the middle of recording and you like knock something over, or a pet jumps into screen, or a noise outside occurs and you want to like cut that out.
Yeah, exactly. And so like if you're just doing that, there's really no reason to like spend a whole bunch of money on video editing software, unless you want to start doing some other stuff like green screening or like titles and things like that are a little bit more advanced. There really isn't like a need to go beyond it. Like I know I ended up with Final Cut because that's what I learned on for like school projects, but I stayed with it because it was like I paid $200 up front and didn't ever have to pay for it again.
That makes sense. Totally.
And unlike Adobe that you have to pay monthly. So like it kind of just depends on what you want. If you want to start doing more like cool titles and stuff like that, then you may have to go into something more like Adobe, using like After Effects stuff and things like that. But it's honestly not needed to pay for stuff you don't need to. Like I've heard really good things about DaVinci Resolve from people who use it. So I'd say check it out. I've never used it, so I don't know, but I know a lot of people who love it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I know I make two kinds of movies, and one of them is more like a talking head vlog movie, and like it's mainly just I need software to get rid of all those flubs and all those unedits and all that stuff that I don't want seen. Whereas I do make another kind of video that is a visual thing of people in cosplay, and other people within my niche, they do go as far as like making special effects happen, or like a character might have a wand that they make have magic stuff, slurry or something come from it. And so having a software that has those ability to make those kind of effects is cool. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And then I remember how much it costs. And like, I don't have that money yet. So I'm just going to stick with what I've got, and maybe in the future.
You know, Danielle, you mentioned you paid $295. I went down and paid $999 for it, but it was Final Cut Pro 7. And
Ooh,
I went
got
to
the good
school.
stuff.
Yep. I went to college so I could learn how to use it. And in the 2 weeks before the class ended, they announced the all new Final Cut Pro for. But I don't feel I was cheated, because you know what? They've been updating this thing for years, one right after the other, constant improvements,
Yeah.
not a penny. And I could put it on 5 computers.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's really good deal.
It really is. Yeah.
It's pretty great. And there is I don't know, I haven't used it in a long time, but I know there is like an After Effects kind of software that will go with Final Cut called Motion.
Yeah.
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 But
Canva, I think, is coming up really strong, and you can make videos with Canva now, and they're really kind of going in that direction.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So yeah. So it seems to like Final Cut Pro just fine. So I'm sure
cool.
it likes other programs too. But yeah, I've had reasonable luck with it in tinkering. It's been a fun tinker.
Nice.
That's cool. I haven't thrown video stuff into Canva yet. I'm gonna have to try that out.
Yeah, you can. They're really trying to get into video. They see the light. Believe me, they see the light. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Now that it's blinding.
Does anyone else have any like thoughts or questions or anything they'd like to share or talk about when it comes to editing that they'd like to get feedback or help with?
I know that there's one thing that I started noticing that when I started doing more TikTok videos, because I would take my tutorials and I would chop them down to put on TikTok. And one thing that really helped me out is trying to get into that like 30-second like sweet spot. It really helped make my actual YouTube videos more succinct, because I was like cutting out things that weren't really needed.
Oh, wow.
And like it really helped me to be like, oh, I don't need that. Let's keep the viewer like engaged. So I'd say TikTok has really helped my editing, which sounds really
That's
funny.
Great. I think that sounds really a great idea, that you've learned a skill about like trying to figure out how much information is important and what might be good on YouTube, but it helped you realize when you were making the TikTok that you have that 30-second to minute video like sweet spot you have to be in for TikTok. So it made you then see how you could even adapt that to your YouTube channel to make it more succinct, more easy to get, which then means that's another editing thing that you may or may not be doing with editing software, but just in your head as you're speaking or sharing the information. Oh, I don't need to say that sentence, or that part of it isn't always necessary. So that's good. You've learned like a new technique for editing in general, just not with just software, but just in the way you've created the content. I think that's great.
Yeah, it was really helpful, and like it makes my content a little more punchy.
Cool. Can you give you an example of one that recently you had on YouTube that you realized could be a little more punchy or be more succinct?
Well, the one that I really noticed it on was I did this video where I made like a Bulbasaur planter from like Pokemon. I have him right here actually.
Oh yeah.
little guy.
Oh, wow.
But I noticed that like there was a lot that I could cut out from that video and still have it be understandable. And so I noticed I was like watching it after I watched the cut down version. I was like, oh, I could have taken this out and I could have taken that out, and it would have been an easier watch for people.
Awesome. What's one thing in general you realized would help your like edit out in general? Like what's one thing you noticed that would help in both formats when editing?
Just like cutting out things that like you think are important, but like people will like understand. So like for my like tutorials, there's like some things that I still show, but like everyone knows how to glue something. So like I don't need to show myself like doing the gluing, like people get it. So it's like I can just say, oh, I cut this out and not have to show myself cutting it. And I can say, oh, I glued this and not have to show myself gluing it. And that kind of just helps keep things going along because people know how to do that.
Yeah, unless you're showing like a pattern where you have to show them how to like cut it out.
Yeah.
Or how to glue it down. I think that's smart. Like you don't need to show every little piece that's going together to it. Yeah, that's great. Cool.
Yeah, I learned the same thing through YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
I try to convert my videos to a minute. I couldn't do it, but I did edit out a lot of stuff.
It's
I
a
didn't.
challenge.
It is.
It really is.
I needed like 2 minutes, not a minute. But
It's true. It is a challenge because you're just like, oh man, I talk a lot and I didn't realize it.
Carrie, you were gonna say something?
Oh yeah, so I made a TikTok that was like 2.5 minutes, but I wanted to cut it down into a short on YouTube because they can like YouTube shorts can only be a minute from my understanding. And like I just cut so much stuff out, and I was like, and like my big thing is I like to make like a big part of my videos is I like to make jokes. I like to make people laugh, and I had to cut out all the jokes, and I was like, I'm not gonna post this. This is boring. Like no one's gonna watch it. It defeats the whole purpose. So like, yeah, I sometimes like I look at my videos, I'm like, maybe I should cut this to be shorter, but then I'm like, but the only stuff I can really like cut out and still have it be educational are my jokes. So it's gonna be a longer video. So just gonna have to do with that trade-off.
Yeah, you don't want to cut those out because that's what keeps people interested.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. There's got to be a way you can keep at least one joke in that 1 minute shot. That's got to be the challenge. It sounds like is what one joke will like hook them in, and then maybe they'll then see the bigger videos too. You know?
Yeah, like I don't. Yeah, that's the problem. Is that I think this makes me sound like a narcissist, but I think all my jokes are funny, and so like it's like. And then I don't know. I'm okay with that for right now. Anyway, maybe on a future video I'll be able to chop it up into smaller 1 minute bits to put in the shorts. But for right now, I'm fine with it.
You could always do a like for part 2 kind of a thing.
Oh, I will never do that. I will never do a like for part 2. That drives me nuts. And like I know that like that will get you more audience attention and more people will look for your videos. But like on principle, nothing makes me. Yeah. Anyway, I could rant about that forever, so I'm not gonna rant about it.
I shouldn't have said anything.
No, it's okay, Danielle. That is one of the that's a sort of side topic I think that happens a lot in any of the content you create online is how do you keep people coming back for more and trying to get that hook? And it goes into what you're saying about your channel and editing it to where it's still you, it's still unique. And I think that's another process even with Danielle that you're talking about is you're trying to show a tutorial, but you want it to be unique to you that people want to come back and see what you're doing. And that's I think another part of editing too in general, whether you're using something like you're talking about TikTok or you're talking about YouTube or you're talking about Facebook or something, is that need to like make sure you're editing it in a way that people see how unique you are. And so trying to make sure you're still coming through in your uniqueness and who you are as a person, whereas you don't want to just be run of the mill. You want to stand out. So using editing as a way to help you do that is important, I think.
What kind of educational content do you make?
Oh, so I used to be a marine biologist, so all my videos
cool.
are about like my channel is The Octopus Lady. I'm doing a series right now called Alien Ocean, and it's about all the weird and alien like animals that live in the ocean. So yeah, and it's
That's
been
cool.
interesting trying to find other creators who make marine biology content, because they're all kind of really boring. Like so, like it just kind of sounds like they're reading off of a Wikipedia page, and they're just putting up
Oh.
like plain like these pictures that were clearly like 300 by 200, but they tried to stretch it out and to fit it into like a 1080 by 1920. It's just like everything about this is bad, y'all. I'm sorry. Like what you're saying is like very educational, but like this, but to Jill's point is that like they don't put any personality into any of their video.
Yeah.
Like,
and you can do that with editing. Like that's one of the things people don't realize is you can edit something really easily. I think there's another part of my niche that I started getting into and meeting within my niche who, for some reason, they've decided the best way to make their videos is to use a live stream software, but record it and then put it on the internet. So there's no editing. So there's all these things that are distracting or like really just could have been edited out. Like one of them, they unbox things. And so you're sitting there watching them take a knife or a cutter or scissors and literally opening the box. It's like that's seconds or minutes of use of silence because they're not talking, opening a box up to then show you what's in it. And it's like, oh no, oh dear. And that's the thing to think about is like, that's been times where I've just stopped watching because I'm like, I want to see what's in the box, but I don't want to see you opening the box. Like Danielle was talking about is I don't need to see you actually using a hot gun glue gun.
Yeah.
I just need to see that it connects to the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just want to reach through the screen and slap them and go, wake up.
I don't know if I want to slap them and wake up. I just want to go, hey, have you heard of editing software? I know you say you don't have much time in your day, but it's like, it may just be like 2 minutes to just cut that little bit out and then put it up on the internet as opposed to just.
I would like to share an observation I've had for a couple of years. When I was in the movie business at 13 over at Disney Studios, and I would go into the editing room and help the editor. It absolutely fascinated me. And that's when you had film and you hung it up in these little closets and everything. And I learned quite a bit in there. But editing has changed so dramatically, not just from film to digital. It's the cuts. Everything is faster. A couple of years ago, I noticed on YouTube, people were using jump cuts, which was a mortal sin back in the day. Oh. And now TikTok and Instagram have really brought this to the forefront. And I got to tell you, I like it. It won't work in a movie, but it works great on TikTok and YouTube.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Keeps things moving.
Oh, yeah. If you did a jump cut, you'd get fired.
Oh.
Well, it's pretty funny. I was talking, I had just watched Citizen Kane for the first time last week, and I was like, okay, I think they overused the dissolve, but obviously that's like the first time it ever happened, but I was just like, wow. Oh gosh, this is too much. But it reminds me of some people's YouTube videos because they'll just use the dissolve to transition, and it's like, oh my gosh, just cut it. I
still do. I can't help it. I got to get out of the habit.
But it's good that you're learning something about how your software works. Like that's a software technique, and it's good. I like I said earlier, it's something that you want to at least try to see how it works, so you know how it works. And if you realize later it didn't work for that video, okay, you now know, okay, that's a fun thing, or it's an interesting like editing thing, but it's maybe not needed for every video you make. So I think it's good that you're trying new things about videos or trying it. But yeah, you gotta learn to rein yourself in. Like they say, you gotta need to edit your stuff like that, using the term edit as an actual word instead of a noun. I think it's important to do that still. So when it comes to editing, what's something that everyone still like sees as a challenge or something they're trying to learn to do differently? Go ahead.
I watch a lot of, I'll call it Chinese YouTube off of WeChat. I managed to get into that channel. It is very different and occasionally quite disturbing. But they're, oh yes, oh you have no idea.
Well, I
But
do.
they're on some of the more humorous ones, they use a phone and they'll put the phone on the ground and kind of set it up, and then they'll put an orange right next to the camera, and then they'll run back and they'll make some motions like they're climbing on the orange or something. And somehow or another, they get that to where they're climbing on the orange or
Forced
they're hanging
perspective.
from a carrot or something. I cannot figure out how in the hell they're doing it, because it's in phone software where it just looks realistic.
You can do that with an iPhone or a Samsung phone. It's called forced perspective. They do it in movies. A big movie that did that a lot was the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So a lot of the scenes where you have these people that are like supposed to be small, the hobbits, and they had everyone being life size, they sometimes would use forced perspective where they have one person sitting closer to the screen and one person sitting farther back. So it's really not like, it's not the camera, it's where they're setting themselves up. So it takes time to like figure out where
I have to tell you that I used to do it, but what they're doing is they're actually wrapping the hands around the orange while they're climbing on it, and they're smaller than the orange. That's the part I can't figure out. I mean, I can lay one on top of the other, but I can't get his hand to go around that orange or that banana.
Yeah, that's probably something that you'd probably have to go look on YouTube for a tutorial about.
Yeah. It sure beats trying to figure it out when everything's in Chinese. I just, I love it. I'm addicted to it. I spend more time on there than I do on YouTube sometimes, but I can't figure out the technique they're using.
Well, that's cool. I think that's a good challenge if you want to try. I think with safes, like when you were talking about it, like if you could have like a funny video of someone trying to move a safe, you could use that forced perspective thing to try and show how it's done or something, or make fun of it. That would be good. So learning that would be a great thing to find some tutorials on how to use forced perspective.
I would love to tinker with that. I'll write that term down because I did not know the term.
Yeah, forced perspective. Anyone else have anything that they find challenging or something new they want to learn for their editing of their videos?
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't know if it's necessarily like an editing technique, but like, do y'all ever just get really tired of listening to your own voice when you're editing? And like, how do you manage that? Because there are some days where I come in and I'm like, I'm gonna work on my YouTube video today, and I'm like, I really hate how I'm saying everything right now, and I want to. And like, I always gotta like grit my teeth. I either grit my teeth and I just like get through it, or I'm like, I'm just gonna do something different today. But like, yeah, if anyone has any advice on how to like deal with the sound of your own voice, like, I'd appreciate that.
I don't know. I guess I just like I feel the same way as you sometimes, and I get mad at myself when I'm like watching stuff, and I'm like, why do I keep saying so at the beginning of every sentence that I say? And I'm just like, how come? What is this? But I don't know. You could turn down the sound and edit through the waveforms instead.
I think that's the hardest thing is we are our own worst critics. And so sometimes hearing ourselves, even if we're not saying anything inaccurate, just hearing our voices, it's kind of surreal in a way. But yeah, you have every right to feel that way. I think it's going to be hard sometimes to get past that and like really like push through. And I think it's good to just, if you can't handle it, just step away from it for a while. It's okay. I think it's okay to feel that way and to not want to do it right then, because that's putting more pressure on yourself. If you just don't feel up to doing it. I do that a lot with just editing in general. There are times I just lack the energy or motivation that day to do it. And yes, it will keep me from getting it done, but I'd rather take care of myself and be healthy than feel stressed about something else in my life, especially if you're already stressed about things in your life,
Yeah, I gotta work on my perfectionism. That's what it comes down to, I think. But yeah,
but work on that.
Shelly, you said you could use Descript. What is Descript? I've never heard of that.
So Descript is a program that you can purchase that basically it was originally made for a lot of people who do podcast or video podcasts where you drop in a video file and it basically translates what you say into what is similar to a Google Doc. Then you can edit it like a Google Doc. So instead of having to necessarily listen to it, you edit the phrasing and then export it from there. So it can help if you don't want to listen, or you could listen to yourself in an editing program at double speed. So either one of those might be able to help. Descript is pretty awesome.
Great.
Yeah,
Googling
it's
that right now.
really cool. Like it blows my mind that
I'm actually working on
a
a something right now where I'm working with Jarvis, which is formerly Jasper, which is AI, to create basically a blog post so that I can throw it into Descript, which you can train it with your voice, and then you can generate a computerized version of your own voice. So I got an AI version of an article that I helped write in Jasper, threw it into Descript, and it is my voice. And I'm going to put it out as a YouTube short just for funsies as an experiment. But technically, I didn't voice a single word of it, but it's my voice.
Oh my God, we
Wow.
live in the future. That's wild.
It's so cool. I just like even the little bits like you've shown Shelly like on like your TikToks and stuff. It blows my mind how it works so well.
It sounds like me, right? I just took a couple of my
Yeah.
long live streams or podcast episodes and I threw that in as my training voice. And it doesn't always get the intonation exactly where you want it, but it's close enough. So even like when I was sick and I had lost my voice a little bit, I was still putting out like some YouTube shorts with my fake voice.
it's
I
really
put a
cool.
link to Descript in the chat, so you guys can look at that. I have it open, looking at it. Wow, this is
Wild.
that's
It's
the
pretty
word.
wild.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
pretty wild.
It's pretty wild. And you can do things like export audiograms or export. I'm working on one now. You can actually use it as a video editor, and they're beefing up their video editing type of stuff. But I've done some stuff where I've just exported audiograms where it still has the words that will come out. I also use it for exporting SRT files, even for really long videos. So it's easy to then upload to YouTube and not have to pay for a transcription service because it will do it for you.
Wow.
So that's nice. And then I've done some where I've done it against like a green screen. So I could bring it into like InShot, LumaFusion, or Final Cut Pro and use it on top of video files as basically in video captions with like using chroma key. So it's pretty versatile.
Wow, it's super versatile.
I have an
All of it.
affiliate link if y'all want to use it.
Put it in the
Yes,
link.
put it
in the
LinkedIn,
chat. Put it in the chat.
I don't even think you get a discount. I think it just tracks it to me. So it's I mean,
Whatever,
you
get
just go to-
that paper, girl.
Yeah,
Get
put it
that
in
paper.
the chat. Put it
I'll
in
go
the
get the
chat.
link, but yeah, go ahead. Go on with your bad self.
We want to support you.
Cool. Anyone else have anything about what they're doing or what they want to do with editing that they're still wanting to learn about or feeling like they want to challenge themselves to do differently?
I do have one tip if it would be helpful. One thing that helped me, there's my affiliate link if you want to click on it. If you are doing talking head videos, which a lot of us tend to do, the idea, I think Travis probably does this a lot, the idea of the last take method, which is if you record in spurts, like a lot of the intros or a lot of the outros or a lot of some certain point, you can just go until you feel that you've managed that specific section. Make sure that your best take or the one that you feel like is in the can and ready to publish is your last one before you move on to the next. And then that way, when you get into your editing software, you actually can edit backwards, go to the best take and then cut everything before that. And that's a really easy way to cut down on your rough cut edit. And another thing that I might say is there's a program out there, which I also have an affiliate link for if you want, but it's called Recut. And Recut is really cool because it will go through and analyze dead space inside of your audio. And then it will go through and do like a rough cut and cut out all of those spaces. And then you can either export from there or you can export into like a FCP or DaVinci or Premiere type of XML file to import into your software so that when you bring it in, it has all of whatever cuts you have. And that does it in seconds. It analyzes. And so you could be 400 cuts into a rough cut and in a few seconds, import, and then go into the last take method. And it will just like, it will really help you get faster.
I put the link to get Recut in the chat. That was cool too. Thank you.
I have it. If you want on
pins.
Get Recut, it just got released on Windows too. I think I have a code that will save you $20. So if you're interested in that, but you could also try it out because you get 5 cuts for free anyway. So you could go download it and give it a shot. And if you like it, like I think it's pretty cool. You can get saved $20. So
Yeah, because it's $99, so that's a good deal. $20.
oh, sorry,
right?
it's $10. You save $10 if you want to use my
Still,
link.
that's
Still
great.
cool. I'd
There's
say.
that.
Awesome. Thanks, Shelly.
Thank you.
Well, anyone else have any other challenges or anything else about editing that they like want to share or want to talk about?
Oh, you're on mute, John.
There is something I'd like to mention because I'm getting old. I thought, you know what? I'm going to spoil myself. So I took my 27-inch Mac and brought it home. That's why I'm having to look up because it's taller and I have a short chair for the other one. But I bought a Mac Studio and I'm so far it's a lightning bolt. I've never seen anything like it. And I've got a buddy with a Pro, and he said one of the cheese grater Macs, and he was came over to give it a quick test so he could tell me that it wasn't as fast as I thought it was, and he was very impressed. And the screen, I didn't want to get the special screen with the special coating because the screens are outrageously priced anyway.
Oh,
So I bought the basic screen, and 2 months later, it just froze up. So I took it back to Apple because I spent 4 hours on the phone with Apple, and we tried all kinds of stuff. So I took it back, and they ended up giving me a new screen, but they didn't have the one I wanted. So they gave me the more expensive one, and now you can't touch it, you can't dust it, you can blow dust off, and they give you a special rag. But I didn't want to put up with that, but it was like $300 or $400 more. So I said, gimme. and they did, which I'm very pleased. I mean, that's one of the reasons I like going to the Apple store. They take good care of me. And let's face it, I'm older. I need a little help once in a while.
it's always good to have help.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt. I found out that the people that have interests like mine are generations younger than me. And when I try to talk to them, they go, "You're an old man," and then, and I don't blame them. But when I try to talk to people that are my age, they have no idea what I'm talking about. It's like it's a different language. So I'm so happy with these meetup groups.
Well, we're happy to have you here. I think
Thank
that's
you.
great that you've made some upgrades to your software and your hardware. That's great to do. I
Yeah.
think it's good. You're taking a challenge to learn something new at
Yeah.
any age. I
Right.
wanted to go back to something Eugene said was about accessibility. I think that's important too, is making sure you're using software that's accessible for you, whatever age or whatever place you're at in life, or whoever you are as a person, because sometimes, not everyone has sight, very good sight. Not a lot of people have hearing as well. Other people might not have these appendages. So I think knowing that we have something that's usable by everyone, that's easy to use, is accessible. I have a friend who's a cosplayer, and she is, I think, about 80% blind. So she has to use a lot of different accessibility tools to help her see what she wants to do when it comes to building her stuff. She even makes also clay and other forms of artwork. And there is that accessibility issue. Like, what is it going to do to help me do what I want to do in any kind of creative format? So I think that's important too, is what is accessible and what's user friendly in any kind of aspect of things.
Random question. Does anyone edit on Windows? I'm hearing a lot of stuff about Apple and Mac. Am I the only person who edits on Windows? For real?
I edit on
Okay.
Windows.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Because I don't know, because I recently got a new laptop, and like when I was looking at Apple laptops, like they were a lot, well, not even Apple laptops, it's Apple computers. They were a lot more expensive, and you got a lot less than what I got with my current Windows laptop.
Well, that's the thing with Windows products, is you have ability to access more editorial software too. Like, you have the Adobe is definitely more of software is definitely more for PC than it is for Mac. But yeah, there's a lot of software that is compatible with both hardware companies and both hardware kinds of things. So yeah, the system is important too. In a way, you have to make sure it's compatible with what you have. Like Eugene just said in the chat that Linux is the system he uses. So there's different systems out there, and you have to make sure your software that you're going to use for editing is compatible with your system you're using. So that's always important. I think a lot of people do forget that. So that's a good point.
Yeah, I think it happens a lot. I do graphic design for my job, and so most of us use Macs just because I feel like a lot of designers use Macs just because of the screen quality that we get, and things like that. So I think a lot of the times with creative people, it ends up being in Mac stuff, and so people who are jumping into things, usually who are like starting from a creative field, they usually end up on there. Even though it's more expensive, that is the downside.
Yeah. Price
Although
is important.
one time I had my MacBook and I accidentally left it on top of my car and drove away, and it flew off the back and it still worked. So I was a Mac person after that.
I would have the worst panic attack. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I did.
Oh.
I freaked out.
Oh,
I'll say I don't think I can break the Apple ecosystem because I am dependent wholly upon AirDrop. So
Oh,
I do a
yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
Amazon shoppable videos right now. And so I shoot mainly on my iPhone, AirDrop to my Mac Studio, and then edit. And I've done a few where I've instead filmed with the Android, like a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, and waiting for it, even though it's just a few little bit of time to go into Google Photos and then have to download it from that as a separate step. I get so pissed off that like it just reaffirms that I will never leave any device that will not let me do AirDrop correctly.
That's fair.
Yeah, a few days ago I was airdropping to my computer, but I wanted to watch TV, and my TV and my computer are set up to where I can't watch them both. So I went and I took my phone and went and sat, like my computer was on, my iMac was on. I went and sat down by my TV and just sat there while I was watching TV and just airdropping, watching the TV without having to look at my computer. Because I was like, oh, here's 5 videos, airdrop. Here's another 10 videos, airdrop. Here's another 15 videos, airdrop. Totally be the same way, Shelly.
Yeah, if they made a better seamless transition, like I might consider it, but like, or I might even consider using like a different phone, but like having both phones, I'm just like, oh, such a pain in the butt. Like having the Android phone in the Apple ecosystem, I'm just like, no, can't do it.
That sounds really difficult. Yeah. Well, we still have about 8 minutes left. Is there anything anyone else wants to share, or any other thoughts or comments or questions maybe we can talk about?
I have a quick question that's more of like a hardware question. We don't have to go into it, but if anybody happens to know the answer, I would love to reach out to me. Is I use external hard drives for keeping all of my video stuff on, and I have an external hard drive that won't mount. And so I can't get anything off of it. So if anybody has any idea how I can get it to mount, I'm using all Mac. It's set up for Mac. Let me know.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Because I
wish
have
had an answer
a
for
whole
you.
video. I have like a few videos on there that I need to edit, but I can't.
Oh no.
Like it doesn't show up in disk utility at all.
Nope, it doesn't even show up in the disk utility.
And if you hooked it up to a Windows machine?
No, I haven't, because it's set up for Mac only.
But sometimes they get read only if you hook up to a Windows machine.
Oh, I also don't have any Windows.
Okay. You could also try a USB-C mounted or something like that if you have like an iPad or something else, or depending on, you try something like this and then plug your hard drive into it and see if you can get into it through the files on your iPad or other device.
So wait, what is that?
So like a little dongle, you live the dongle life. Like if you have an iPad or an iMac or your computer, plug in your hard drive into the USB port and then see if you can navigate to your hard drive through the files navigator.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Still nothing?
So, yeah, I know. And I've tried, like one time it showed up in the disk utility and I tried to mount it, it wouldn't, and I tried to like repair it and then it disappeared again. So if
Scary.
anybody has anything that they can come up with, well, definitely let
Yikes.
me know.
Yeah. That's troubling. Like, oh,
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
I try to back up to a RAID drive, and it seems to be working pretty well.
you don't have the unedited raw footage somewhere on anything else that you
Well,
can pull it from?
I do. I still have it on the memory card, but I edited half the videos.
Oh no. Oh
I
no.
don't want it to go.
You may have to just start from scratch again, that sounds like.
Are the changes in your library though, where you could maybe redirect the files to, instead of in place, to from the memory card instead?
Maybe, but the library is on the external drive. Yeah. I also have a bunch of other files on there that I don't want to lose either.
Yeah,
like
that's important.
for other videos. So that I don't have the raw files for anymore. I've learned my lesson that I need a second backup area.
That'd be a good idea.
But yeah.
Well, hopefully
Okay.
you can
Well,
find
thank
an
you
answer.
guys.
Yeah, good luck. That's a challenge. Well, does anyone else have anything they want to share? Anything they want to talk about when it comes to editing? Any part of editing aspect? Okay, well, I'll take that as a no then. Silence is a no for me, in my opinion. So that's what we'll go with. So what we'll do now is we'll end the live portion of today's meetup. If anyone wants to stay after we've finished the live portion, we can still hang out if you want to hang out and just chat about everything and anything. For those of you that are watching this later and from the live video, please check the link description to learn more about the Facebook group and the Meetup group if you'd like to join us on those, to learn more about just ways you can connect with other people in the Pacific Northwest who are also creating videos online. Thanks for joining us all today, and I will see you all next month. I don't remember the topic for next month off the top of my head, but again, it's the third Saturday of every month at 3 o'clock, and we'll see you then. So that's it for today's live broadcast. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.